Hello, good evening. I think I'm confident enough to say that the audio will be working. So I won't ask people if that's working. That's normally the beginning to all of these while we're waiting for the chat. For those of you who are watching this back on playback, if you like this type of thing and you'd like us to do more or you'd like to enjoy it more, then make sure you hit that bell notification so you're notified when we do go live. A couple of people have commented that they want more notifications for these, and I appreciate that, but something that I kind of squeeze in as and when possible, and that's not always something that I get noticed for. Hey, buddy. Hello, Daryl. So, the subject for this is I don't know how many people know about this technique, but what we're going to be doing is playing with and testing and showing the contrast over ink technique. Probably I will do a full video on this, but you're going to get to see the results of it live. But it definitely gives some kind of unexpectedly cool results. Imperial Fist contrast is the contrast we're going to be using. I've got something else. I've got another one, but I really, really love Imperial Fist. I think, however, maybe if we were to try out Bad Moon Yellow, maybe we could get something slightly different and less warm out of it. So yeah, that is our subject. Now the idea is that we're going to base coat these already pre-sprayed bases in these colors or mixes of them. Maybe we'll chuck some pastels in. I'm using mini color here, by the way, if you're curious about any of the colors. There's some absolute bangers. These two are incredible. So yeah, I'm going to chuck those down as a base coat, but then going to dry brush white over them or very light colors over them. And I'm just going to show you how the contrast can look over that. I guess before we begin, probably I should just produce a standard contrasted base. So we'll go for that. As ever, if anyone has any questions, do let me know exactly what it is that you'd like to be solved on stream, or if you've got questions about products or anything that I'm using. Okay, so I'm sure there's plenty of people here who are familiar with how using a contrast goes. Like this, though. You put your contrast down. Depending what color you've gone over, it will drastically or less drastically affect the entirety of the area you're painting, and it should pull against ridges and in recesses. Pretty standard stuff. Thank you, Satel Potts, for already discoloring me. So there we go. Imperial Fist is a very, very well-behaved one, I would say. It's my personal favorite of the entire lot. I don't know what other favorites people have. So this is contrasting a base. Looks pretty good for the time spent, and that's absolutely the magic power of contrast. Cell did their research in the several years they spent developing this before everyone else copied. It's great. Get a proper close up there. So Imperial Fist is kind of a pretty warm yellow. I know all yellows are warm really, but it is a extra specially warm one. Good evening. So what happens if you do that over something else? Time to begin our testing. Now what I've got here is Mini Colors Fuchsia. And then I'm also going to get out like a pastel highlight color because we'll go even lighter than this. A pastel pink or a pastel peach. Never. I've not knocked a pot over for a really long time actually. Let's hope now's not the time to start, right? So while I'm base coating, it's a great time for you to ask any questions, whether it's about this technique that I'm about to demonstrate or painting in general, armies, whatever it is. Kind of fill your boots. You'll notice that Fuchsia is doing a pretty good job. It is going over white, granted, but it's doing a great job of going down pretty easily. even quite diluted and pretty smooth. This is a paint that we spent quite a lot of time working on. Really lovely behavior. Right, get these recesses. These are the Aegis Sigma molded plastic bases, by the way, Shattered Dominion. They're quite good for testing things out on, and you can always just buy one set and reprime them and go again and again and again. I find them a useful tool for kind of working out color schemes. Pretty much what we're doing here, or testing products. I've realized I'm going to have to go and get new painting water sometime soon. Right, okay, so we've got a lightish one there. Let's make an even lighter one. And I think this is the thing that can make a really big difference. You can go super like close to white. You can add white in there. Obviously that makes it easier to get a base coat to do what it needs to do. Got to be careful it doesn't get too thick though. Ours is very smooth and our pastels are very smooth, so we shouldn't have any issues with that. Evening, Jose. All right, so as I'm going here, any questions you got, fire away. It's just going to be a quick one today. I wanted to show this. Any questions you ask will definitely be useful because they'll make their way into how I approach the proper tutorial that we're making for it. So you are my research panel, very valuable one. And I should use the bigger brush. Hey KM, how are you? Right, slapping it down in there. These ultra deep details can be a little bit annoying, but got it down. So pretty clear what's going on here. The next step is to do an ultra light one. So I'll add even more white in, and hopefully what we can get between these is a pretty good test and comparison just between different approaches. I'm being lazy. I don't want to choose one that's quite as 3D because I didn't enjoy painting that one. I'll choose three that are close to each other though. These have got the least three-dimensional skulls on them ever, these bases. They've all been squished. No worries. Call me Rocket Free. They are ours. They are mini colors. Mini colored pinks. There you go. Pop that on stream. So I've used our fuchsia so far, and to it I've added, we've got six kind of, people call them pastels, or we call them highlight colors, wherever verbiage you want to use. And I've just added the, it's quite hard to show. It's not white. It's like just purpley. I've added that to it for the highlights. And so they've been popped down for our bases. I'll do a darker one as well, although something really interesting happens if you use like a purpley pink, in that you end up going super neutral and brown. I wonder how much they'll be bleached by my camera. I'm quite close. But yeah, this one's really brown, but we're hoping for something that is a little bit more in this direction. It's turned out quite well on camera, actually. You can see the pinky tones coming through this one, really warming it up. All right, we've got some more questions coming in. How to quick fix without a reprime? KM, what do you mean? If it just looks bad? Can you clarify, buddy? Nice to see the questions beginning to fly in. Helps us fill space while I'm doing base coating with a brush that's too small. I've picked my course, I'm on it now, but unusual for me to be using a brush that isn't big enough. You will notice that the coverage on all of these is pretty good. We've got some weaker, deeper purples, but they're just not relevant for this. They're the wrong colors, basically. So it's not all coverage kings, but I just happen to have used them because I'm choosing to use slightly more pastel-y ones. So we want the ones that are going to do the business as base coats because they contain more white. All right, let's take some questions. What do we have? Pink to white zenithal would also be cool to see the yellow contrast with. I agree with that. I'm not sure if there's a way that I can do on here because I've chosen the flattest things ever to demo on. They have texture, but obviously they're not exactly full of volume, are they? Painting heads. That's a pretty good topic. I'd have to get better at painting heads, but yes. How to strip miniatures video easier way when I use the paint. Cheap aftershave to strip minis. I love the sound of that. How are your paints through the airbrush? Oh, they're super good. I should actually legit show that. That's a fantastic question, Chris. I don't know how the noise would be. Afternoon Wirehead, I see you back. So if your mini color, I've got Space Marine custom chapter mostly bought up. Tell me more about your custom chapter. If I miss anyone's questions or comments, by the way, please just repeat them. It's just my inability to multitask. I'm squeezed into a pretty small desk with camera and lighting and laptop and paints, and I should have cleaned the desk beforehand. Frankly, that's the issue, if I'm honest. Sure, we've all been there. Okay, so we've got some bases now. This one's got a little bit patchy. I watered it down too much, but I'm gonna. I mean, I'll probably re-dry brush this one. I'm not sure if it's 100% dry actually, but these should be almost dry enough to start working on very soon. Is this a magenta or just pink? I don't know what. This is a fuchsia. Like literally, it's called fuchsia, and then hollyhock is magenta-y, but it's not in like the wizardy. It's not in the more blue wizardy magenta range. Depends how you want to put it. None of these are like packed with red, but I do think probably that would work. I could try one. Would you like me to try adding some red into one? Because I don't think it. I think it might work with the technique. Holly and you're gonna have to give me. I mean, we have an ochre and we have many reds, but I can't answer that on the fly. Why is people so obsessed with the Zone palette as well? I'm not bagging on it, but I wonder. Red, okay then. All right, because you asked nicely. I don't know if this will work, to be honest, but you know, I'm here to be a guinea pig, and this will help him film the video if it does work, and if it doesn't, then I can tell other people not to do it. That's useful, right? Okay. So look at that. So good, isn't it? I've added chili to hollyhock here, by the way. Wonder what happens if I add chili to fuchsia makes like I don't know how to describe that. It's amazing though. Can you see? Crazy. Well, let's just put this down and see. We're gonna end up with some strange stuff on the table, aren't we? Why not? So I would imagine the result for most of these is going to be that they weren't pastel enough. They didn't contain enough white. So maybe we'll end up with contrast transitions that are a little bit too strong, a bit unsubtle. I would expect so far this one that I've just put water on, that will go the best. All of them are covering pretty well though, aren't they? Okay. Right, I'm going to mix up another one, start base coating while I answer more questions. KM, yellow contrast is, in my opinion, that looks worst when blotchy. I would agree with that. It's often because it's going over lighter base KM. I'd use regular acrylics to touch it up. Cool. No, you've put that well worded. Um, it is not easy either. I absolutely understand why you're saying that. Okay, we're making up a redder version of this, but we've pasteled it out quite a bit. And what this should do is it'll be a little bit lighter, and I do think the ones that are lighter are going to work better. We're going to have, there's quite a lot of build up to this, and then I'm just going to be splashing contrast over them. They should all, I mean, they won't all look great, but we'll get quite a big reveal quite fast. Any more questions from anyone while I'm in the boring base coat bit? How do I take my coffee? I am a coffee drinker. I like it with coconut milk. I like anything coconutty, so quite a quite a strong, interesting one with coconut milk as a latte, but not like very, very, very milky. I do think quite a lot of what I like about coffee is I enjoy the start of each day, and I like, coffee's part of that routine. But also it's that little 5 minutes when you make it, have some time to yourself. And often when I do it, it's because I'm setting up for a task. I quite enjoy just the build-ups in general. If your question was like, do you like nutty Ethiopian coffees or something, my taste is not quite that refined. I know when I have a nice one, but I don't know what it is. Right, we've got a good selection now. Aren't our paints amazing? I'm so happy with the range. Look at that. Hopefully, I mean, I've only used these, and we added a little dot of red. But yeah, they're pretty outstanding as a range. Hell Smith have a shit. Decide to stick with normal paint for now. Yeah, it's the mini zing. Okay, we've got some coffee info coming through. Comment that under the video. I'll go and hunt it down off the internet. Right, we're going to do a little bit dry brushing now because I believe you guys have been pretty patient with watching me just base coat things. Can someone inform me how good the noise cancellation is when I hairdry this dry? Apologies if it's bad. Right, I did it for a short while in case someone says that was terrible. Color dropper diagram? What do you mean? Oh, wonderful. Thanks, Wirehead. Okay, I can dry brush these while they cool down. Sequencing will be beautiful. Let's get our white out. White's already out. Ah, okay. Was this an answer to Zon? Oh, wait, the color dropper program. Hey, buddy, thank you for the question. What do you find more satisfying and why? Post or pre-painting? What do you mean? Like, what do I like to do in my build-up to painting, or can you clarify? It's a good question about the price. Well, I don't. let me find a good example here. Good question. So I don't like using bad things or throwing things away. Like I really don't. I'm a bit of a hoarder, and ours are the best, and you can use them to destruction. I do have issues with the fact that a lot of the copies you see out there are just worse, and I think especially with the dry brushing because they were my invention, or this combination of shape and hair was I was the first one to bring it into being, however you want to put that. I think it'd be very fair to say that I'm largely responsible for that, having designed these brushes and trailblazed dry brushing as a valid technique. I really don't like that now there's crap versions of the dry brushes out there, and as a result, people try them. They think that dry brushing is bad, and it's not. It's the brush, or at least the brush is definitely not making it any easier because it's a weird technique to learn to do right. And if you learn to do it right with the wrong tools, you're still doing it wrong a lot of the time. I can get a pretty good result out of the wrong paint and the wrong brushes, but it's just so much easier with the right paint and the right brushes. I don't mind answering questions like that. Thank you for asking it. There is a good reason that you see a load of the pros using them as well, right? Like, if it's really important to someone to do their best work and win a golden demon, they're going to try and use the best thing and or the most reliable thing. And our product testing is extremely good too. So I do think that's a part of it. All right. Hopefully, having just espoused the value of the good dry brushes that I designed, the technique that I pioneered, um, you can see me doing a all right job of edge highlighting. Good to put my money where my mouth is, right? So you can put your money where our brushes are. They're very durable as well. So once you've learned to care for them, you can get years out of these. And that's just, I'm the same with shoes. Like I'd rather wear the same good shoes constantly for a year and a half, 2 years plus, and then replace them with the same pair because I'm boring, um, than constantly be shredding my way through not as good shoes. And it's important to enjoy your free time as well, right? Like using nicer, better tools is a more enjoyable experience. No one wants. We had this with the paints as well. Like the paints aren't going to be the cheapest on the market, and we're definitely not using the cheapest base. It's a very expensive base actually. Um, no one wants bad surprises when they're doing the hobby that they meant to do for fun. It's like using bad ingredients in cooking. You're like, oh great, well those were horrible tomatoes. This entire dish now tastes bad. Crisp. That's turned out really well. No, no, no. Use it for metallics. Like if you're doing it right, buddy, your paint will never get down here, so it literally doesn't matter. You're not going to hurt them. You're going to wear them down over time. Look at this. This is an old brush. It's still smooth. It's a beautiful shape. It's better. It's better now than when I bought it. It's a perfect shape because I've worn it off. But there's no dirt at the bottom. So those metallic flakes that would do damage in the metal bit, you never get them in the metal bit. So you simply don't need to worry about it. Have a look at our slightly more recent brush cleaning tutorial where I talk about um, not killing your brushes and how to clean them, because basically that's about not overloading them. All right, good question, but it caused me to slow down. None of us can really multitask, can we? Right, I'm just going to go a bit more fast now. My brush is set up really well, so hopefully these should go pretty well. It's important in situations like this to put down a first layer of the dry brushing because the paint wants to stick to itself, and it'll do that a bit better once you've put even the lightest initial coat down. The second coat will go down better, the third coat will go down better, etc., etc. So that's what I'm trying to kind of quickly whisk over the bases and set up now. Please don't mistake me going fast for me not being like clinical or caring what I'm doing. I've set up my dry brush many, many, many times, so it comes to me pretty quick. Why I had I like that. I'll still pull out moving on to Series S now. If there's one hair that's not behaving, like you sometimes you're just going to get one hair that isn't doing what it should inside a very good brush. I kind of pair those ones off and end up pulling them out or cutting them off at the very, very base. Pulling them out is actually slightly better if you can. So I prune my S brushes. Again, I don't like throwing things away. So if something has one hair that's bad, like 1 year in, I'll take that out and I'll carry on using it for forever if I can. All right, getting a bit heavier now. And like I said, this is going to stick to these bases a bit better. Hopefully this is showing up nicely. Let me know if I need to bring it for a close-up or anything like that. I must say it's a bit, oh dear, that's going to go badly, isn't it? It's pretty novel with such a happy looking pink girly palette on the go. It's like I've got Elmer the Elephant or something on my desk. Normally it's, you know, blood effects, turquoise everything, dragon scales, but now we've got Candy Mountain. I don't dislike it, it's just unusual. Ah, right, like I understand. That is not our intent, but it's quite a cool thing that you've spoken about. Some weird things happen when you start diluting and extending and taking paints further and further, because to make up a pure pigments seem to be all the rage now. I don't know why. One of the really nice things about not pure pigment paints is you'll like take a yellow and highlight a black and suddenly it'll turn green because there was a bit of blue in there. Or, you know, as you add bone to something, it kind of changes personality in the highlights. So you'll come into complications with anything but very pure pigments doing that, I believe. To my knowledge, it's not so much my specialist subject. Have I missed any questions? That's why you don't eat tomatoes, Cam. But what if they're amazing? Smashed tomatoes. Ah, do you enjoy starting a project or finishing one? I'm a journeyman. I like looking at once it's done, that's cool. And if it's an army, I like playing with it. And my favorite thing to look at in the hobby are finished armies. And I like my own, but I like other people's more. So I'm very much journey over destination. In fact, if any of you know the Stormlight archives, uh, you'll know that quote even better. And I paint under a painting, which is the book cover of The Way of Kings. Okay, these are looking pretty damn cool. I'm going to grab a more dangerous strong white. I've been using ours that's ultra smooth because it tends to go really well. But I'm going to take a little bit of this and add it to ours. And hopefully we don't get chalky behavior because I've been trying to avoid that. Yes, life before death. Absolutely. There's a the American colors of that series covers of that series are in color rather than black and white and red. I love them, so I paint on one of those actually signed by the artist who did it, not the author of the books, Brandon Sanderson, but by the artist Michael Whalen, who's a like super seminal fantasy book uh, painter dude. Or Drybrush are one that we already Imperial Fisted, because why not? Okay, we're in a pretty good spot now. I'm going to add a bit more. I think these need to be lighter overall. So when and only when I feel confident in my brush's behavior, like smears aren't going to come out basically, then I can go yellow for it. There's been a lot of sirens in Manchester today. Sorry if you can hear that. This is a pure white, but you could use a pastel or an off color. You could use, where's my light orange or peach? There you go. So just to give you an idea, we're using this, but you could absolutely, much easier when there's them in a row. You could use anything like these, would be fine. Something like this is pretty cool. That's peach. You guys have been patiently waiting for the payoff, which hopefully is worth it. We're getting closer now. These are very stable whites, by the way, but if you're using other whites that aren't, ours is like ultra stable, then I would recommend leaving it for a bit before you do the contrast step because it's devastating to put down contrast and realize that your dry brushing didn't quite dry yet. It's a very unenjoyable experience. Right, look at that. They're looking banging. They're not quite as like crispy, GWE, edge highlighty anymore. There's a bit more on there, but particularly this one, that's really low, soft detail. We've done a very good job of picking it out, which is great. Okay. Notice, by the way, no paint further down than like 5 mil from the top. This is what we preach. And this is why I don't need to worry about your metallics. Sorry, I can't remember the username of the person who asked for that. That if pigment doesn't get down here, and that's quite hard because our bristles are very fine and densely packed. There's a lot of very small bristles. So there's not like big holes between big circles. It's a load of little hairs, and it's very hard for the paint to get down in there. So as long as you don't push it in yourself, you have relatively good practice while you're using it. It's not too much of a problem. Right. Do we want some contrast medium? Lamian contrast. We will be doing smaller ones. And yes, sextets, which is a nice word, isn't it? Let me show you an example. So I've got so many purples out, I may as well. All right. The purples go like this. It's such a good set, isn't it? There we go. Beautiful. All right. Time for the moment of truth. Hopefully this shows up pretty well on camera. Right. Something that some of you may or may not know about contrast and when to put in contrast medium. Now, this is going to make it softer, but one relatively uncovered reason for wanting to make your contrast look softer is when you've got a very light area and there's less of a difference between your darkest bit and your lightest bit. So this one's quite dark and quite light. I can put a strong contrast over this that's less diluted, and that will still show up, as will this one, as will this one. As we get here to the lighter territories, probably it would be a good idea for me to take contrast medium, mix it with my Imperial Fist, so I don't just obliterate all of it and turn it like a flat yellow. This is quite a strong contrast, so that's a real risk. If you were using something like, do I have a weak one? I do. This may look like a dark color, but Skeleton Horde's pretty pathetic, really. So is Athematic Blue. There's a load that are really, really soft. That wouldn't matter so much over here, but Imperial Fist it's got the minerals. It's a strong boy. So I'll use it now, and I'll hopefully be able to show you what we mean. Do we think we need to go any lighter on any of those? No. Let's just rock on. So I can say ratios if people are into that type of thing. You weirdos if you are. 2 parts Imperial Fist. And yes, we're just going to go straight in there, straight into the pot and raw dog it. That's 2-to-1. We'll go for a 50-50 ratio though. Okay, already, what's going on here on my palette? Where did the pink go? Why did it go yellow? Let's see if we can get the same effect going on here. Oh, we can. Look at that. I suspect this one might be the best one, but I don't know. We'll find out. We'll do all of them and we'll see. Look at that. Doesn't it look amazing? Is it coming out well on camera? Do you want me to bring it closer? We're just going for it. We're being relatively brave. This is a heavy-ish application, but what I tend to do is I'll put it on. I don't know what we can do about the recesses. Right, I'll put it on, and then rather than going to get more of the recesses, I'll just pull it from areas where I think maybe there's a bit too much, and they will become my reservoir for where I get my paint for getting it in the other areas. The blow, by the way, helps agitate things quite nicely, can work out pretty well. You can also, people don't tend to do this, if you want to fill details that have edges, you can. Like I filled that kind of shark tooth shape there. Let's bring it in. This is pretty reflective currently. It's still not dried. Don't tip it around while it's drying, by the way. Go beyond the edges too. Shouldn't be painting up to your edges. You should go past them always. And then they get base rimmed black. Sunny side up. A very good way of putting it. Absolutely. For hobby stores, will you offer complete paint set bundles, range sets for them to stock, and will customers also be able to buy individual bottles and pots? The intent is, yes, in the future, all of the above, but the intent is to start off with the sets just to make it easier for us with distribution while we're getting to grips with things. You do this. So that's a thank you, King, for saying that. So King said, it's great, but I don't have the steady hand to not mess up the already finished parts of the model using contrast. You do this first then, buddy. Solved. And you can do this first and varnish it, and then your other areas, if you get a slip on them, you just wipe them up with a cotton bud or a Q-tip, and you are good to go. So that is sequencing is really important, and you'll notice how YOLO I am with my dry brushing. You do your best dry brushing when you don't have to worry about going outside of your edges too. So I would really encourage you to think about the sequence you do things in. Generally, you kind of do like the biggest, messiest task first, and then you get more specific as you go. It's also a good idea if you struggle with control to really limit the amount of the time that you have to be using good control, be thinking about where you go and it matters. And then if that period is shorter, you can be on it more because you're concentrating and you can concentrate better directly in proportion with how little there is. So you want the smallest amount of time that you have to be on your best behavior so you can do your best behavior the best, if that makes sense. This looks cool. That looks great. Maybe we could have gone stronger there. But I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to slap the same mix over all of them, and then we can simply do mix twice on any that we deem would benefit from it. Looking pretty cool. That's even more egg yolky. Nice, wonderful. I do kind of feel that we want like a really nearly white one, dry brushed white. That would look very, very smooth. This has come out pretty orangey because it's darker. That's to be expected. Yeah, have a go, buddy. There's you can always satin varnish your metallics too, because that'll just make them look more shiny, and then you can wipe them off if you get a mistake on. Do you hold your models really close to your face when you paint? Because I'm really surprised when I teach classes. Like I sit very like kind of I make triangle out of my elbows and wrists and stuff, and I brace really hard. That helps me with control, but a lot of people kind of hover their hands around, and that will, even if you don't have a tremor, that will make you paint like you have a bit of a tremor. All right, so the one that was really dark, it looks cool, but this is definitely orange. This isn't yellow. Go over our double yellow one, which becomes more yellow, but also more smooth, which is interesting. This has already had contrast on it, so it's not going to move around as readily. Contrast's really absorbent. So your second coat goes on and kind of stays on. That'll dry really quick as well. I could have almost got away with doing a overbrush, which is like a very heavy dry brush on a couple of these with a white, I think. They look cool though. They've come out really well. It is a very fun technique at a base level. Right, this one's going to get more medium in it. Yes, contamination police on the job. Yeah, a little wrist pillow. It's a good idea. Yes, or you just less yeah, more magenta, less white in the mix, however you want to put it. But just make sure that you don't go towards blue. It's got to stay in the ready area of the purples. If it's blue, the yellow will actually just counter things and turn them gray brown, and it's not like bad or anything, but it won't be what you're going for, I imagine. Could be useful in some ways, but in way less situations would you want to turn your model brown when putting yellow on it. All right, here we go. I don't know which one people think of the winner. These three are like, they pop though. They look crazy. Yeah, it might actually. This one, like, it's looking fiery. Double yellow. So the double yellow, in fact, if we had done a majority white one, that that's closer to how that would look. Thanks, KM. Helpful stuff. You can also tension them by taking an elastic band and running it around and hooking it over your thumb. Get like a fat one and putting that tension through. It can even lower tremors from like Parkinson's and stuff like that. All right. That is the results of our tests. I think they turned out pretty well. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed it. It's just a short one. I'm going to pop off, go and relax and watch the football. Do your colors dry around the same value as the bottle? They're pretty consistent actually. The degree to which they vary will change color to color, but how they look in the bottle, they'll all dry a bit more vibrant because our bottles aren't 100% transparent. You see, it looks a bit lighter, um, and a bit brighter. Sorry, rather. But they're pretty stable. What you see from them is what you get. The reds change a bit more than others, but that's normal with reds. Most of them just deepen when they dry. They're pretty beautiful. All right, guys, I'm gonna shoot. It's been a quick one. It's been good. Hopefully we have done some useful experimentation. Looks kind of cool seeing the transition between them on screen. I do think the big learning takeaway for me, at least, obviously, it's, you know, you paint whatever colors you want and you think are going to look the coolest, or what you've planned, or what your fluff is. I think the learning point for me is that we can go really light pastel pink, like really, really, really light, add more white in for the base coat, and then do a stark white dry brush on it, and we'll get something that is more in the direction of this. Or maybe we only just leave the very recesses and we just do like quite a heavy dry brush that basically misses nothing but the darkest areas or the most recessed ones. My pleasure, guys. The Kickstarter is still available for late pledge, mini color. Let me find a link before I shoot. So if anyone wants to back it, they absolutely can, and you will get it for the early price, and that won't be a forever thing. So if you're interested, there, the paints are wonderful. I'll show you the purples again, or I'll show you the yellows and oranges actually. Why not? So I think we did quite a lot with only 6 yellows and oranges. Here's the selection that you get: marmalade, burnt orange, mustard, marigold, personal favorite of mine, proper egg yolk yellow, canary, and papaya. That's the selection for the yellows and oranges. The warm browns are exquisite, probably one of the best sets we got as well. But people never ask to see the browns. uh, in shops, some point later than like June, I would say. Second half this year. Easy answer. All right. Thank you very much for joining in, everyone. Late Pledge found a package in the car. I blame me and Ross. Well, he's a good man. I'll owe him a beer. I'm seeing him soon, actually. He's coming to visit me. Okay. Have a wonderful evening, everyone. Sorry we don't have a tutorial for you this week. It's been a pretty busy schedule. Ian's got some housework on editorial, and that's made it a bit harder. But I am researching. I have been researching with you live, so you can probably guess what one of our future videos is going to contain at least. All right, look after yourselves. I'm going to say my farewells and have a lovely evening. Stay safe.